this last thing, before we get into some of the rumors and shit more from yesterday, just the last thing that came up in the press conference was the Ian Laperrière extension. There was the Saravalli tweet after it was announced yesterday, future NHL head coach. Yeah.
I woke up to people freaking out about that.
And I fully acknowledge, like, one, coaching, like, the way football's the easiest thing because there's so many specialized, like, you can be a head coach, but maybe not equipped to teach O-linemen proper technique, you know?
Sure.
Like, there's different skill sets for each.
Well, apparently, if you follow the Eagles, you could be a head coach if you do actually nothing.
You're just, you just have the office. You just signed up for the job.
Not really sure what Nick Sirianni does here anymore, but I guess he's the head coach.
Good for him.
Anyway, continue.
But, like, that's the thing. Like, that's it. Listen, say what you want about the fucking guy. He's been in the playoffs 3 times in 3 years and, like, almost won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, they made a Super Bowl with him as head coach, so
like,
sure.
It must not be horrible, but, like, the Ian Laperrière comparison here is like, all right, we loved him as a player, but would he even still be in the organization? Like, Danny just referenced taking a slap shot to the face.
He was on his team when he did it.
Yes, there was that year.
He might have been on the ice.
I really hope. Anyway, like, if not for that, we question, like, would he even be in the organization? And then the NHL coaching experience, we got the firsthand, man, that penalty kill was fucking horrible. And I wouldn't say his time with the Phantoms has been marked with tremendous success from a winning standpoint.
It's true.
They made the playoffs this year. They got steamrolled by the Bears, who are awesome. But they won that play-in round or whatever they did. Yeah. Also, what are the success stories coming out? Like, who are the guys? Like, is it Jerry Mayhew? Is that what we're doing here?
I do think they are.
Why can we point at Ian Laperrière and go, he's a future head coach because he does this well?
They personally think he's done a good job developing the young players. They think he's done a good job with guys like Tyson Forrester, with guys like Cam York. They think that those guys who spent, like, high-end prospects who spent time down in the AHL benefited from their time under Lappy. Now, is that provable? Not really. Like, you can't prove a concept like that. Like, would Tyson Forrester be just as good if he had a different AHL coach? I don't know. It's possible. I can't prove it one way or the other. I can tell you the Flyers think these guys have benefited from playing under Lappy.
And I suppose I understand that. But, man, if Tyson Forrester, who they drafted at 20, 22, if Cam York, who they drafted in the teens, don't work out, like, that's a bad pick.
True.
I'm looking at, like, where are the success stories of dudes on this roster who wouldn't be, and, like, again, that is also impossible to say. I get it. It's just like, that's what I'm looking for from, if it's all about development, because it's not the 90s anymore where it's like, yeah, we have a bunch of Peter Whites and Sean McCoshas who are too slow to play in the NHL, but they can score 40, 50 goals in the AHL and we're going to win the Calder Cup because that's what we're trying to do is sell tickets, not develop for the NHL. I get it. They're not that anymore. But, like, where are these players that we're calling up that are like, okay, here they are? Like, why does it have to be Victor Mete and Louis Belpedio early in the season rather than a second or third round pick?
Well, but they would argue, the Flyers would contend that they didn't call up guys like Ronnie Adder and Adam Ginning because they weren't yet ready. And then when they did call them up, they held their own, and they would credit Ian Laperrière for that. Now, again, I don't know. I'm not there. And it's hard, as I said, to prove any of this because you don't know what would happen in a world where they had a different coach other than Ian Laperrière. I just know the Flyers think very highly of Laperrière and his developmental abilities, and they don't care quite as much about the wins, losses down there. They want the team to be competitive.
Sure.
They want the team to be, playing meaningful games, whether they're winning a Calder Cup or competing for a Calder Cup, I don't think matters to them that much, but they don't want the team to be trash.
Yes.
And they're not trash. You could certainly make the case that they should be better and that maybe a better tactical coach would have them winning more games. But I don't think that's something they care about too much. I think they more are focused on, are our young guys developing well? Are they rounding out their games? Is Lappy helping them become better? They believe he is. Now, going to the Saravalli tweet, there's a couple of things I'll say about that. Number one, and this is undeniably true.
Frank covered him.
Well, I'll get to that.
Okay.
Number one, Ian Laperrière is a great guy. He is like salt of the earth, like just like a genuinely nice person.
100%.
Everyone who's around Ian Laperrière thinks he's a great dude. Like he's just a friendly guy. So I'm sure Frank is already positively predisposed towards him because he thinks Lappy's a good dude, because he is. I'll also say this, and I'm not saying this because I have any inside information. I will say that if you are an insider and you have sources, sometimes you toss a little back to those sources and say, man, there would be like, if you have an agent who's one of your best sources, maybe you pump the tires of their clients a little bit to get more scoops. Perhaps there's a little bit of like, yeah, when I call Lappy up when I need information, he immediately returns my calls. So I'm maybe going to pump his tires a little bit in public and present the idea, at least get the conversation started about like, maybe he should get an interview the next go around. Just saying that when you're in the insider business, there's a lot of like, you scratch your back, like that kind of thing. And that could be part of this.
Absolutely. And again, like the skill sets to be an NHL head coach, it might not matter. Like, oh, well, he didn't win anything in the AHL, so he was a bad penalty kill coach on mediocre teams. Like, so obviously he can't do it. He might be a fucking tremendous coach. Like, that is possible. And he might be being asked to do something else. And right now, like, with the way the NHL team is, I can just see them really liking, Bobby Brink is getting screamed at by this crazy fuck. And we're sending you back because we don't like the way you practiced the last 2 weeks. And Laperrière can go, all right, this is what you need to do, and kind of just get them on the right track without it being, you got to go take your shirt off and threaten to fight him, and then now you're part of the rotation.
I do. Yeah, I get it. And I do understand why Flyers fans kind of went crazy on this, because let's be honest.
We don't like him.
Well, not even that.
We don't like the job he did.
Yeah, there's still a lot of dissatisfaction with the way he coached the penalty kill. I don't think there's a feeling in the fan base that he's necessarily doing a great job with the Phantoms. And this is the key thing. The head coach is old. And there's a feeling of like, well, we're kind of talking about like, well, when Torts is gone, they're going to go out and get some better coach. And it's like, oh God, what if the succession plan is they're going to prove Lappy up?
It certainly has crossed my mind. I wonder, because they like to make the players uncomfortable. It's something that they think is important. Like the way we talk, like Buffalo signed a bunch of their young guys, and we're like, we just want you all to focus on the game. You don't have to worry. Guess what? You all have 8-year contracts. We're handing them out. Everyone's signed. Now go play. Don't worry about shit. And the Flyers are like, I don't know. What if we throw a smoke bomb in the locker room and close all the doors? Like, see who gets out. Like, I just think Ian Laperrière is not that guy. Maybe it's the baseball mentality where it's like, yeah, man, we just had Larry Boa, so we got to bring in Charlie Manuel, who was excellent on the Gargano show today. We got to bring in Charlie Manuel because everyone hates coming to work. Yeah. We got guys who are like,
isn't that kind of what it was with Girardi and Topper?
Yeah. We got guys who are like, I don't even care about the 20 mil. I'm not coming to work. Yeah. Let's bring in someone nice. Yeah. Maybe that's the mentality then, but I would be surprised if it's Lappy, just because I don't think he fits the bill of what they wanted head coach.
He would certainly not be like the flashy hire, which I think the Flyers do. Like they want to be viewed as like
brand name.
Want to be viewed as a prestige organization. Like to me, and I mentioned this guy a couple times just because he's like the hot name, but like the Flyers would love to be the team that convinces David Carl to leave college.
They would love that.
Because it shows that like we're the Flyers again.
Yeah, if it's not like
we get our guy.
We didn't get, Peter Laviolette, someone of that ilk, someone, Ken Hitchcock, a cup winner, you've heard of this coach before. It'll be, we got that fucking the guy who turned down the NHL after a couple national titles. We got it.
Exactly.
Like it'll be something like that.
You would think.
I would, if not an established brand name coach. It's just my guess based on they very much want to be those Flyers again.
They do. They absolutely do.
It's very much part of the goal.
We all silly like the mayor.